Hey, how's it going, everyone? Let's turn off the music for now. Welcome in, Danny, CPC voter, Sarush, and Joklar. Welcome. Unannounced live stream, but I figure it's like the last chance to do one this year. I don't know, maybe this week I'll do 5. I don't know. But it's been, this vacation has been rough. It has not been relaxing at all. And I figure if I don't do a live stream, I will have nothing for an entire month to publish, and that's not okay. Because there's YouTube members and there's Patreon and everything, and just the business doesn't run if I don't publish. So, welcome in. I'm trying to figure out the background music volume and everything, because it feels pretty loud to me, and then I turned it down here for you guys and realized that it doesn't affect what I hear. So I'll probably just put you guys at like -2, and then I guess I'll just turn down the music volume super low. It's like literally at like 1% volume in the player. Okay, so is the connection quality good? No, it's not good. Trying this out in 1440p. Let me know if it's good or bad. YouTube's warning me that I should increase the bitrate. I don't know if I can do that without stopping. Stream output. Okay, I upped the bitrate. We'll see if that's making a difference. Background music currently is a bit loud. This is a quiet part of the song. I think music is high, voice is low. I've got the player barely outputting anything. Maybe that's better? Getting there. It's it's hard to get things set up the way I want because the app that I was using before just stopped working. They updated it, it completely broke, and it hasn't been fixed yet. So I'm seeing myself here peaking at it went as high as -10 if I'm looking directly at the mic. And I turned down the music player, like the YouTube music app, the volume is all the way down. Not muted, but one notch from down, all the way down. And then I've got that coming into loopback, and that's turned down to 40%. And then that's going to OBS, which is then turned down another 2. So that's about all I can do. Let's see in the next song if that's a good level. And then we'll move on to setting levels from Reaper. And if you have questions for me about Reaper or anything else, we will sort of do a dedicated question and answer period. So just save them. I want to be able to hear the music the same sort of level that you are hearing, but I don't know if that's possible. I'm not monitoring myself. All right, just let me know. And also if the stream cuts out or anything like that. Seems good. I don't know. I could go to headphones. I don't like wearing headphones. And it's not really gonna show me what you're hearing. Is the main thing. Okay, so let's say I keep the music this level. And pause it. And let's play something out of Reaper. That's going to be way louder. But that's the level that I kind of need to hear it to do a mix. So tell me, is this level like way too loud? It's a bit loud. All right. How about there? That's 20% quieter. Hey, Vulture Culture. Thanks for using those icons. I forget what they're called. No one ever uses them. Yeah, I guess that level's gonna have to work. So I'm hearing it at my normal volume in my speakers. You guys are hearing it 20% quieter. I can maybe boost my voice a little bit. It's been a while since I streamed. Let's do... I'm also limiting myself to -6, but I don't think that makes a difference, really. I shouldn't be hitting -6. Let's do +4 on the output of the expander. All right. Well, so, great, all the noise that I was trying to avoid has come back. So I was going to stream earlier today, like 9:30 or so, and then just aggressive hammering started. And I couldn't get my cameras working, and then the kids were up and just, into things and fighting, and it didn't work out. So I took a break, and then the hammering stopped, and I think it just started again. So we may be interrupted. There's construction downstairs because the apartment's empty. They're renovating it. But it's just like the most aggressive hammering I've heard in years. It's like, why do you need to hit a nail 16 times? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what's going on. But, all right. So, first we're going to look today at CSI. And CSI is a Reaper extension for Control Surface Integration. CSI, Control Surface Integrator. And for me, this is the most straightforward way of working with a control surface in terms of getting everything that you want to do done. It's not the most pretty looking thing, and it does sort of require, not really coding, but it does require text editing to get it to do what you want. But I think ultimately it's worth it because of how flexible it is and all the things you can do. Hey, Danny, I'd be into that, so that would be no problem. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. What was I gonna say? Okay, so let's do screen cap. This one. All right, so CSI on the Reaper forum, the development is now at 686 pages. So it's been going for quite a while. And I think the plan is that sometime in the next year, it will actually be attached to Reaper. So you install Reaper, CSI comes with it. I think that's the plan. Um, I've talked about CSI before, like when I first got the X Touch, um, crotch camera. Um, so when I got the X Touch, I was using CSI, and that was version 2, and then version 3 of CSI had a an interesting way of learning the effects parameters, and that is currently gone. But in terms of like the software version, they're now doing CSI 7 to match Reaper 7. So it's a little confusing. There's so like the development is so fast. Like anytime I post something in that thread, it's like 15 posts go by before I get a chance to like check back for an answer. There's some days Jeff is publishing a new version like 2 to 3 times in a day. So it's very quick. But yeah, it's things are subject to change, and I wanted to make a video about this, but I don't. But this is gonna have to be the video. It's like, or at this point, anyways, what we're doing in this live stream will be sort of the video, and so we'll talk about installing the experimental version of CSI. So CSI exp.zip. You have to just this upload date is kind of what to go by. But like the comments here, like this is old. It's always this link, but it is but it will be updated here. It's there's no change log or anything. You kind of just have to go by the forum posts. So I have that downloaded, and I will quit Reaper and go to downloads. I'm going to extract CSI exp. I'm going to take the control surface integrator.dylib, copy that, go to my Reaper folder, go to user plugins, paste, and then saying that there's an older version in there already, and I'll hit replace. And then I will double click on this. Actually, no. I will right click and then open, and then click open. So that's sort of like a verification thing. This terminal window comes up, but it can be safely closed. This is just a way to get around the gatekeeper thing on Mac. And then after that, you should be able to open Reaper normally. You have to do similar thing for any of the Reaper extensions. Anything that's not coming through the App Store, you have to do some things. So it's saying that CSI doesn't support a certain property, and that's fine. That's just, from one day to the next, the CSI development changes certain things. Let's just remove that. So I'm in Reaper preferences and control surface page. Going to add. I will select control surface integrator. I will, let's just remove everything here. So in the first one, we click on add MIDI, and we'll select the Xtouch internal and Xtouch internal. We'll call this Xtouch. And there are 8 channels. And then, okay. Oh. Okay. And then click on add. Page name. I think this is called home. And then we click on show hide follows MCP. And I think I check all of these. Okay, so there's a little bug. These aren't quite lined up. I'll just save that for later. And then click on add. And then this is asking where is the actual control surface configuration. So there is a Xtouch zone file that comes with CSI install, and then there's the one that I've been working on for past couple months, Xtouch custom. Channel offset is if this is the second controller in your setup. So if you have two Xtouches or Xtouch and extender, you want to offset one of them by 8. So anyways, that should be fine. And then in advanced, I believe I had these selected. Yeah. And then in this advanced page, you also have functions for monitoring. So if you don't have a configuration already built, you would enable this show MIDI input function. And then anytime you touch a button or move a knob or touch a fader, it will output in the scripting interface what the MIDI commands are that are being output from your control surface. Show input will show what CSI interprets that input as. So whether that's a fader move, so like if you define some parameter as rotary 1, it will see that as rotary 1 and the value. And then show output is what the output of it is, if that's like pan output or something like that. There's also this write params to CSI zone raw effects files when effects inserted, and that's for building your own effects layouts without using the built-in learn function. So clicking OK, everything should be fine now. And I hit OK, and I can ignore that. And going back to, let's try this layout. Let's move that out of the way for now. All right, and sorry if I'm ignoring any of the chats, but yeah, I got to get through this. All right, so can almost see everything, I think. There we go. And I have another lamp here. There we go. Look good? Hopefully you can see that. So as I add more tracks to my Reaper project, they come up as track number or track name, and the fader pops up to reflect the position in Reaper's mixer. And so if I press 2 here, that's that's the zoomed in layout. Display capture. Huh. That's still not showing everything. Why is that? All right, well, we'll just go with this one for now. I forget what I was going to say next, but essentially the rotary is your pan. You can click it and then it becomes width, and then the fader is the track volume. We've got record enable, solo, mute, and then track selection. And so I can click on any of these and it selects them within Reaper's mixer. If I want to select multiple, I hold down shift and then I can click them like that. If I want to select only, if I want to remove one from a selection, it's the control key. And then in here, we've also got things like the jog wheel for the cursor position. There's a fast forward, which is like a sort of a faster than real time sort of jogging through things. Fader bank will Oh, I think because the faders haven't moved, you can't see. Or maybe I broke that button. That's possible too. This fader here in this sort of center section is always the master fader. I might actually change that for my layout, but just because I accidentally bump it quite a lot. It could also be set to something like last touched effects parameter, which is pretty helpful. So a lot of the functions that don't have a dedicated button will be visible through the modifier section. So there's a Shift, Option, Control, Alt function. And then for things like, for where they actually make a difference, it will display on the bottom row what that is. So it can show what automation mode they're in. And then normal, I don't remember what normal would mean, but various functions. There's a global sort of, actually a selected track automation mode. So you can set a certain track to write mode, trim, latch preview, latch mode, touch, or back to default trim read. There's a save button, which will prompt Reaper to save, or it should. Actually doesn't. Maybe because OBS had focus. Oh, no, the window just went to the wrong screen. But there is a save dialog on the screen right now. Okay. There's buttons for marker, nudge, cycle is like loop. I pressed the button a few times and now that save dialog keeps popping up. There we go. Okay. Cycle is transport, repeat. Drop is snap to grid on and off. Replace is what's it called? The ripple edit modes. Click is metronome. And then solo is a clear all solos function. So I could solo a couple of these tracks and I hit the solo button here and they all unsolo. Any of the buttons can be programmed to be a tap or a hold, and any of them can be modified with Shift or really any other button. So I could do things like hold down the zoom button and then track up, track down, left, right. Or I can hold down the, let's try to get this on screen for both views. Let's close the mixer. Right, so for like this, and I hold down the zoom button and jog wheel, that's zooming out horizontal. Zooming horizontally with the jog wheel, which is pretty cool. If I hold down the up button, hold down. I don't think I did manage to get this one working, but if I do zoom and then up, that's track height for all tracks, and then the down button, and then left and right. Otherwise, it's these buttons, I think, only navigate sometimes. Now the track banking is working. I don't know why it wasn't working before. So if you have a lot of tracks, and you can click the bank buttons to go in banks of 8, so between tracks 1 through 8 and 1 through 16, or you can do the channel bank, which is just one at a time. Coffee time. All right. So it looks like in the chat, everyone's just kind of chatting to each other. That's cool. I'm happy that you guys are here to hang out. So yeah, it at the very least, the X Touch is really convenient to have hands-on controls over a rough mix while you're tracking. That's really nice. You don't have to grab the mouse, find the track. It's just kind of laid out here. And then having the record button on the X Touch or the stop button, or being able to jog and move position, jump to the next part of the song and hit record. Having that as a dedicated controller has been really helpful. At the all right, below the display here, the time display here, I've got a row of buttons, 8 buttons. That by default with the MCU layout, I think they did have dedicated functions, but in CSI they're all basically custom keys. So I've got 16 custom shortcut keys essentially here, and some of them I have assigned already, I think. So the output button goes to the routing window for the selected track. If I tap global view or hold it and then output, maybe not, I forget. What the hell? I'm trying to get this on screen at the same time for you guys, but it's not working. Okay, this user button I have set up for the NVK tools button or search window. So I can add track templates, effects chains, things like that. Aux? No. The audio tracks button is for the master effects chain, I think it is. And then the outputs is for routing. And I can't remember which modifier I had. Shift plus outputs is for master track. I should have that global plus outputs, and I could do that. Let's actually look at that next. And sorry about the sawing. I don't know why they're sawing downstairs right now, but they are. All right, so let's go. No. Let's do that one. So hopefully you can see this. I can probably zoom it in a bit further as well. All right, so first we'll look at, so earlier I put in the CSI or the CSurf integrator extension into the user plugins folder, but that's not everything that is included. So once you do that, there's also a bundle of configuration files that you need to put into a folder called CSI. It'll be in the main Reaper folder. And so you'll have CSI INI, which is basically whatever preferences you set in the control surface setup, that's where it gets saved to. So if I were to look at this, there's just the preference file essentially. And going back, surfaces is where we're defining the all the different files. So xtouch custom is what I've got. Surface.txt is defining what each button is outputting as far as MIDI goes, and then whether it has feedback or whether the control has acceleration, or I think touch is another parameter. And so that's what we're looking at here. Surface.txt is, so there's this step size function and acceleration values, and these are for the rotary encoders. And so that if you turn it slowly, it outputs a small amount. If you turn it quickly, it outputs a larger amount, and you can kind of set up the scaling for that. And that's something that takes quite a while to figure out. But I think this sort of parameter setup is good. You can quickly turn it left or right, and it goes between minimum and maximum very easily. just like you would with a actual knob. And the default settings never worked for me. They were too slow. I'd have to turn it like 8 times to get between 0 and 100. But this works well. You can kind of scale everything by this rotary widget class, as well as just putting in 7 different values here. Okay, so widget track, widget send, widget pan, these are all different buttons on the controller. So looking at the overhead view, track, pan, send. Not sure why EQ is out of order, but the order of it doesn't really matter. But we're defining the name of the widget or the button, what MIDI data comes out of that button when it's pressed, what feedback happens, which is, I think 2-state just means on or off. Does the light turn on or not? Not all parameters have lights behind them, things like that. And then you do widget end. And you can call that widget back later in any of the other pages. So there's that surface.txt. And then in the zones folder, we've got go zones, where you can send the controller to a specific zone. And then there's home zones, which are just zones that are kind of the default position. So home zone, home.zon is kind of the main one that you interact with outside of when you're in a specific view for select a track or plugin layout. So in home.zon, we've got just some sort of initialization kinds of things. And then included zones. So additional zone files can be loaded in here, and where they're not overlapping, whatever you set in the track.zon will be included here. So all those functions are also available. You can kind of break things up into smaller sections rather than having kind of everything in home.zon. Okay, so then you're assigning the different buttons. And it goes like this. The name of the widget, which is usually the same name as what it's labeled on your controller. So track is the track button on my controller that we defined here. So instead of all this data being in home.zon, all we have to do is call this data from track, and it's there. Go zone, I mean, open up the zone folder, or the zone file, I guess it would be, for selected tracks. So when I press the track button on the controller, it loads the track.zon file, which I don't, that's this one here, which has all of the different assignments or commands that would happen when we're on selected track view. And so that's all different go zones, basically load a different zone file. The instrument button is an exception to that. That's learn focused effects. So if we press the instrument button, when we have an effect on the screen, it should bring up the learn function. Moving on from this for now, there are certain things like the global view button. Global view is the button on the controller. That's the name of it. It's also the name of the widget. But then global is not a zone. It's a CSI function. So that would, you'd have to look it up on the wiki to see like the details of it and the list of all the possible CSI functions. But then right below that, we've got Reaper and then a number. And so that's the Reaper action list and the ID number. Hey, Jerome. Hey, Mike. Hey, Will. And then we can make a comment with the / thing. So Jerome, if I'm, you know this pretty well, I think, and if I'm getting any of this wrong, please correct me. I'm happy to. I just want it to be right, and this stuff is changing so frequently that it's very difficult to keep it straight in my head. But yeah, so certain things like global, that's a CSI parameter. That's not something that we have a file we can define. Otherwise, that would be like a go. If it says go, that's loading up a different zone file. Okay, and then and yeah, we can define different Reaper actions, and anything that's not clear, like clearly labeled, you just put in a double forward slash, and you can just type in the parameter. For a script, it's essentially the same. Just copy the command ID from Reaper, and that will work. So we're defining different sections, the function buttons, the modifiers. You can see here, flip equals flip, shift equals shift. These are, again, these are, again, just functions of CSI that we don't actually have control over. Track auto mode 1 through 5. These are defined in the wiki. But yeah, it's self-explanatory. And if you're building any of your stuff from scratch, just start with something that's already kind of built. So I took Jeff's Xtouch control layout and started modifying things. There were certain things that I didn't like, certain things that were unassigned. And if, and then I've just been chipping away at this, trying to figure out, like, if I want to do something, what button would make it easiest, or what will I most likely remember, and that's sort of where I've ended up with this. If you want a button to do nothing, you just set it to no action. So spelling counts, capitalization counts, it's all pretty important stuff. I don't think there's anything else too specific here. Banking is interesting, maybe. So those bank buttons, they're defined as bank left, bank right, channel left, channel right. And you're defining whether it's going, like, how far left and right, and by, like, a negative is bank left, or subtracts 8 from the current displayed channel count, etc. I think if your home.zon file is well labeled like this, with all of the different Reaper parameters, Reaper action IDs labeled or commented, it's pretty straightforward. You can quickly jump to a different section, so navigation and zoom. You can find what's there. So I did a bunch of things like the zoom plus up. What was it? The jog wheel stuff. I think all the jog wheel stuff is custom. I had one for option decrease plus mouse wheel. Option decrease. Okay, so decrease and increase means, are you turning the jog wheel left or right? Decrease and increase are not actual buttons, but they're just direction of a rotary. Okay. I think people are caught up on the general basics of CSI, how it's laid out. There are a few different folders where you have zones. There's the home zone, there's the go zones. This is where you're sending from the home page to a specific sort of full layout swaps. Or not really the full layout, but it could be. And I think anything that is not assigned sort of falls back to the home zone. So if I'm on selected tracks.zon, which I do not have loaded, selected tracks.zon, There's no included zones, so anything that's listed here replaces anything that was previously loaded in home. So the displays change to the track name, the track volume, panning, all this stuff. If you hold down the shift button, then you get the track auto mode and toggle track auto. I don't think I've tried that one, so I don't know. Toggle. Not sure what that means there. The flip button will swap between panning and fader volume. So let me show you what that looks like. So currently it's on normal mode. So this is track volume. I press the flip button, and now it's pan. And the rotaries also display the amount of pan, and I can actually turn it, and it moves. My channel 6 rotary is actually broken, which is really annoying. So anyways, that's the flip function. It's pretty cool. I don't know if that's something I don't know if that's something that's in the other integrations. Jerome says toggle means if you push the rotary button, it changes to the other function. Oh yeah, I think that actual layout though was. Oh yeah, it was toggle plus rotary. Oh wait. Toggle plus rotary and rotary push. I'm not sure. One other important thing here. So anytime there's this pipe symbol, which is, what is that, shift, and then the button above enter on the keyboard, that means like do for each channel. However many channels there are, repeat that for each channel. So we're not, we don't have to write this out for channel rotaries 1 through 8 or faders 1 through 8 or whatever. We can put the pipe in and we'll repeat that for the next channel over, or up to the 8 channels that are displayed there. Okay, so since the last version of CSI, they changed, since earlier in the week when they did the last version of CSI, they changed the channel mapping, or the plugin mapping function. So I'd like to experiment with that, see what that's like. Sausage Fattener is one that I had a layout already built. So let's try this view. I don't know if, can you see that? Hopefully you can see that. So very simple plugin. So the display currently says sausage here. If I, I've set it up so that if I press the select button, it will load that. The default is to press the rotary encoder. I just don't like clicking the rotary encoders. And then so I've got the fatness knob, color, and gain, but actually I've got those set up on faders. So in the learn window, you can assign any of the rotaries, the rotary push, or faders to whatever parameters you want. So there's only three parameters in this, and for me, I just wanted to assign it to the faders. Okay. So we can also press the instrument button at the top right of the what's it called? The controller, to bring up the learn window. So if I touch a parameter and then touch a rotary, that should, maybe I have to unlink it. Maybe I should do this on one that's not already assigned. try to find a plugin I haven't mapped yet. Let's do Black 76. Okay. All right. So when the controller, or when the controller displays are blue, that means it's in learn mode. And I've got this learn button here. So if I touch a rotary and then turn a knob, they should be assigned. People were saying this was working. I don't think I have to press save. Rotary 1. Rotary, move, link. Maybe I have to press link. There we go. Okay, so, I mean, this has changed 15 times, I think. Every time I think, okay, it's stable, I can record a video, they go and change the learn window. Jerome, I don't know if you've looked at it since yesterday, but you have to click the link button now. So rotary, then control, and then link. It was reversed and no link button before. Rotary 3, release, link. Rotary 4, effect, link. Yeah. Okay, so this is moving quite quickly for me, and I don't want it to move that quickly. So I'm going to click on this edit button, which brings up this second window. Honestly, this is the first time seeing this because it's changed so frequently, but this gives me more control over what the upper and lower displays are displaying, parameters or name, and then there's also a step size. So I don't know if this has been adjusted too much, but let's go with the maximum amount here. See if that feels better. That does feel better. Yeah, it was just a little too fast. Kind of fine with it for the others. Output level, we'll edit that one as well. Let's go with 30. Done. And you can also just display or change the display type. So currently it's a dot for showing position, but we could set it to fill that. Oh, you can't see that. So I set this one to the fill mode. I might actually edit that for all of these. Release fill. I wonder if that's actually a bug or not. But this fill parameter, or the display type, remembers the last used. Actually, it displays the last used, but it's not actually assigning it. Rotary 1, edit, fill. Done. Okay. Edit, fill. All right. Well, that's the main. Oh yeah, there's also the these. Rotary 5. This, link, edit, fill, done. That'll work. That's good enough. And then hit save. And so what that is actually doing, going through that whole, all that function there, is it creates a file in the auto-generated effects zones. And so the one I just did was T-Rex 5 Black 76. We open that up in our text editor. It's like this. So it gets the name, colors, what happens if you press the plugin button, and then it auto-generates all the different rotaries and then assigns it to a parameter number. So rotary 1 is assigned to parameter 0 with a ring style of fill. And then it has the acceleration values here if there were edited. Nothing on rotary push, nothing on the fader. And then the displays are for input gain and the parameter value. And now this 0 here is parameter 0. And in the other sections, this is parameter 3. So whatever this is, you generally want to also display the parameter value for that same parameter. But you could have the displays showing something different than what is actually being controlled. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that's just set to no action because you never assigned it in the learn window. But we used to have to, like, there was a time we had to manually create this stuff. So all the little tweaks that Jeff has been doing to make that learn window better has been worth it, because I have built my effects chain or my effects layout so many times, and then they became obsolete. And so far with CSI version 7, even though he's changed the learn window so many times, it's all compatible. Can't see it, John. Oh well. Yeah, the link button, I don't know if I like that, but I think it does make sense. I don't know. It's almost like we should have... I'd almost rather hold down the learn button on the controller and then move the parameter. Something like that. I could probably set that up myself, but it's a little weird. Barton says, I'm constantly toggling between I need a dog controller and a mouse will be fine. Yeah, the mouse can technically do everything, but it really struggles when you're trying to balance multiple track volumes, or you want to have hands-on controls for effects. Like, being able to move more than one parameter at a time is great. Like setting up 8 effects parameters, like maybe like setting up frequency and gain on faders is really helpful. But yeah. Link button was because if you push a rotary, it sometimes turns the rotary. Yeah. Yeah, I figured it was something like that. Or, I mean, I was having trouble with the last version of the learn window where I'd be working left to right, but the previous parameter would display. So I'd assign something, go to the next thing, and then the one I just assigned would change, and then sometimes I'd end up with 2 knobs controlling one parameter. Yeah, and then you just have to like unlink everything and go back and do it. I don't know the Micro 4K, but I've been skimming through your posts on the forum. Okay. Sausage Fattener's great. It was overrated, underrated. It's perfectly well rated now. It was a joke. It's actually decent, honestly. It's fine. Just take control of the output gain. All right. How long have we been streaming? About an hour. I would like to do some... I don't know. I don't know what else to do for CSI stuff. So the main things that changed there was the learn window since the last time I looked at it. I know that I haven't documented everything in this video, but I also don't want to put a lot of effort into documenting it in a live stream when I do intend to make a real video. Okay, so let's. There's one more thing I should. I mean, there's at least one more thing I should talk about, but this here. If I make a change in, let's say, home.zon or any of the other files, I'm going to save it, and coming back to Reaper, we have to refresh the control surface so that it can actually read those changes. So that's going to be open up the action list and find refresh control. Control surfaces, refresh all surfaces. I have that on option F1. I find that to be a convenient keyboard shortcut for that. But when you do that, the controller will basically reset. It's going to reload all the control surface information. And you need to do that anytime you're manually editing any of the files. So this is something that I have to do like 20 times a day as I'm building my own control surface layout. When I get this, when CSI is officially released, I will share my own Xtouch layout for any of the Xtouch users that haven't been able to keep up with the CSI dev. But yeah, not today. Would CSI be compatible with any MIDI controller? I have a launch key, for example, where you can custom map the faders, knobs, and buttons. Technically, yes. So ideally, you start with somebody else's layout, but you can build your own layout. I do also have a launch key. I haven't configured it at all to work with CSI. I don't know if it would be the best sort of controller for that. I think of there's no real reason you can't. I always think of a DAW controller as having motorized faders, but it doesn't necessarily have to. But I don't know if you were here before, but in the control surface integrator, so if you go here, control surface integrator, we can do add MIDI and then do launch key. Man, I hate the names of the launch key stuff. It's DAW out. Is yours as weird with the names, the driver names? I don't know if that's a Mac thing, but I could not get the drivers working properly with this. But launch key, and let's say 8 channels. Display refresh rate. I don't know about that. I don't know if that needs to be set at all. We'll try that. Try home. I don't know if this is actually going to work. Launch key. Yeah, I need a file built already. I haven't tried this, but I think you can kind of just build one. And then inside here we need a zones folder. And okay, so All right, and then I'm going to click advanced, and for launch key, I'm going to show MIDI input. Launch key zones. Folder is missing or empty. Yeah, I know it's missing or empty. Home zone. Yeah, it's telling me a bunch of errors, but let's see. No. Yeah, so you kind of need you need some things filled in here automatically. No need for a second home. Yeah. Yeah, so you need the files in there. So basically you're going to have to take one of the built-in ones and just copy it, and then in here you'll have to just sort of like overwrite them. Let's try that again. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to edit this one. It probably didn't like that I had two. No warning this time, but it's also not doing feedback. Drum says, what I did is copied some of the SCE24 and changed it to my Micro 4K. Yeah, but I think those controllers are more similar than something with non-rotary encoders, or yeah, potentiometers and sliding potentiometers, non-motorized ones. Yeah, I don't remember how this if I need the broadcast thing or not. I don't remember if I need that. So Xtouch is displaying output. You're gonna have to like experiment and try to get your launch key to output this. It could be multiple things. It could be that I don't have the launch key on the right sort of mode. Because it's sort of set up in the generic mode. It might be that I have to disable it from the MIDI inputs and outputs as well. I don't know. But it should be possible to do it. I just don't know how. Oh yeah, advanced. Oh, hey Jeff. Remove the page, add the launch key to the home zone. I think we can move on. I will figure it out eventually. I don't want to mess around with it too much on stream. But Jeff, since you're here, there's a couple things we found. They're a little weird. Do you see that? This was on the advanced page. There's just some how do I show this? Yeah, that many pixels off. Minor detail, but what else was there? The learn window, the latest version is it's okay. I don't love it. Turn widget, adjust GUI parameter. I guess I don't like the link button. I don't know. I understand. Like Jerome was saying that you need it for the to avoid the push happening, or the rotary happening when you do push. I don't know if I like the extra step. And I didn't look at this. This is the same as before. Oh yeah. One thing that we found earlier was this display for dot, fill, boost, cut, and spread. It was, maybe I'm just confused by it. Ah, that's what it is. I think I kept this window open, maybe, and wasn't paying attention to this one staying on output. All right, so I'm going to set output to fill, done, and now I'll move parallel and then edit. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I was seeing it as staying on fill, but I didn't realize it was still showing me the parameter that I had edited earlier. Well, actually, that was weird. It was the output control that I set to fill first, but it went back to dot at some point. All right, well, let's unlink those three. Try again. So turning rotary, touching the knob, clicking link, and I'll go to edit, and I'll set this to fill, and done. Now I'll move rotary 2, move the parameter, link it, edit, says dot again, and fill. Okay, so I guess it's working. Maybe a bug with that, depending on the order that you're editing, but I'm not sure. So these are all set to fill. I set this one to dot, done. Move this one, so rotary 2, edit, fill. Okay. Maybe it must just be me. I don't know. I liked the speed of the previous version, but I was making mistakes frequently. It must have been that I didn't close the window. Okay, and also with the last version that I messed with didn't have anything in these boxes, so I'm not used to that. If we're being nitpicky, maybe this is too far to the top compared to the bottom. It's not centered vertically. If we're being nitpicky. Yeah. Other than that, I think it's working well. I'll just do, so I press plugin, press select. Oh yeah, I didn't have anything loaded yet, so I press instrument or learn. Turn widget, move thing, learn. Turn thing, learn. Jeff, would it be possible to hold the learn button and or tap the learn button to commit or something like that? Yeah, because I just closed learn and it didn't save. Link. I did that wrong. Unlink. Rotary 1, move, link. Rotary 2, touch, link. And save. Okay. I can't bring up the learn window. Maybe for some reason I couldn't click the learn window there again, but now it popped up. Flip, toggle are modifiers, not functions. I don't remember what that would be about. Is this something I said earlier in the chat or in the demo? Okay, how about this? Can we have an auto button instead of, or in addition to the link unlink? Can we have an auto toggle that just links the last moved controller or widget with effects parameter and just automatically links like it kind of did in the previous version, and we can uncheck auto if we want to move slower? Along with shift. Okay. Flip is a function? Oh, yeah. I think of it as a function, but I guess it is a modifier. Flip is, it's not a page we can load and edit the parameters of, or how it functions. All this config would make you go nuts? Yeah. You got to be a little nuts to use Reaper. How about rewriting the whole thing 7 times? Jeff's a little nuts from that, I'm sure. Yeah, Jerome. I did configure the acceleration, so it's like globally better, but just that one parameter. I think it was because that parameter went from infinity to 0 or something like that. It just felt a little off. I don't know. But yeah, it's, I think in general I have it set up the way that I like in Surface TXT with this set of parameters, or this scaling. I used ChatGPT. I was like, can you give me 7 values up to 1 um, for an exponential scale or something like that. Auto creates problem, but I feel like it was working in the last version really well, or the last couple versions really well. But if it's just like, can we turn it on and off? That would be ideal for me. The last version, like, I was making mistakes. I was accidentally linking multiple rotaries to the same parameter when I didn't mean to. But I don't know. Just having to click the button just feels like a step backwards in a way. But and did you make any changes to steps in the past update? Yeah, reticulate. I don't use it enough to really go through all the setup. There's got to be some similarities between libraries. I'm sure there's a template that you can start with for this. But okay. I thought of something that I haven't shown yet. Jeff, maybe there's a function where the learn window can close automatically if the plugin's removed. So if there was a function, something that had a button. No, not that one. All right, let's say we've got something like a pull-tech EQ. And there is the low frequency selector. There's 4 different positions here. What that would look like in the learn window, you would click edit after you learn it, and then you would choose a step size. So for this, I chose 12. And so that's like essentially 3 clicks, and then it goes to the next setting. You could set this to just 4, and it moves much quicker. It's a little harder to hit those ones in the middle. So I usually double the amount of parameters or triple them. So if it's like a toggle and I want to be able to turn, like do a full turn, then I mean a toggle would set to 2, but you might actually want to set it to 4 or 8, depending on how much movement you want to do on your wrist to make that happen. So, and you can actually audition things in real, like you can see these parameters changing or feel the change, I guess, as you're working in this window. So these updates are in real time. If you set it to 0, it will only do the minimum value. And I think in here, can we type in here? We can. Yeah, in here we could set up custom steps. But you'd have to know what the parameters. Let's do 0.5, the minimum. No, that did not save it. I thought you could save that. I thought you could set a minimum and maximum in here. in the params. That, no, we can't. Jerome, yeah, you would use 4 only, but it doesn't feel right, is what I'm saying. I When you set it to 4, it's really hard to hit those middle ones because it's such a small amount of movement. I'm barely moving my fingers, and it's jumping to the ends. So I mean, it depends on the acceleration values. But for me, if I'm not going from 0 to 100, and I'm just hitting these four stops, setting it to 12 feels more comfortable, or even 8 feels better than setting it to 4. 4 is just too quick. So I'm just saying, if you want slower movement for parameters that have low steps, you can adjust it like that. Setting it to 24, you need to do like a full turn to go to each click. So I'm going to set that one to 12 and done. But these other ones, like, I've got that on faders. Bandwidth, I've got it set to the default, so that feels fine to me. It looks a little jumpy on screen, but I think it's just the refresh rate. Anyways. One thing for everyone to keep in mind is JS plugins don't learn as you have to use the JS effects param. I don't think I've even tried that yet. Let's try it. There aren't a ton of JS effects that I use on a regular basis, so I haven't even thought about that yet. Let's try Toucan. Sphinx is a good one. No, wait. I use the first one much more. Yeah. So, turn widget, adjust. This one, oh, that's weird. It disappears. I wonder why that is. That's funny. So what would you do? Yeah, on the X Touch, the clicks are like so closely, like so close together. I find I just go right past, but yeah. Edit the zone file. Oh, you'd have to manually assign them. Okay. No, I'll put that in the video. I don't know if I'm gonna like really really have an issue with that myself. Trying to think of like what I would use JS effects for, and like not just sort of set and forget. Let's try this one. I did it again. Yeah, those parameter values are not moving at all. Yeah. Okay. So because I didn't hit save. Okay. So will I have a save file here? Okay. So in here, I could actually manually enter the parameters. And so edit. Cut off param. All right. Yeah. So yeah, I think personally I just wouldn't use the control surface for those plugins. I can't remember if I've ever assigned parameters in JSFX to anything. I might just do it with like last touch parameter and have that on the master fader. Definitely noteworthy. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap it up here. That's an hour and a half. I did kind of want to do Playtime stuff today, but not really in the mood anymore. And I definitely don't have that prepared. Yeah, I bought the Launchpad Mini Mark III, and it's basically plug and play with Playtime, but just setting up a grid layout performance is not something that I'm super fluid with yet. Especially trying to record loops, I'm just really bad at it still. And I think all the Playtime functions are working correctly. It's just a matter of me getting them down to the point that I can record a demo live and tell you how to use it. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, but I got this for 75 Canadian on Facebook Marketplace, and it's been good. It's been really good for that. Yeah, so once I figure out, like, I got to be able to, like, grab a bunch of loops and then figure out, like, okay, I'll record bass to this, or I'll record a key part. Let's do, like, the 1 minute overview of Playtime, I guess. So, there we go. Hit the Playtime button on the toolbar, and we get this window. Now, when you install it through Repack, there is there's a shortcut for it. The global shortcut is Command-Shift-P, or show hide Playtime. It comes up like this, which is just sort of showing some settings. You can load a template, and so this adds in a track for Playtime, and then 8 audio tracks, or 8. Some are audio, some are MIDI. So this is a MIDI track. This is an audio track. And the the mixer that you see in the bottom here is linked to Reaper's mixer. It's just sort of another view of Reaper's mixer. And we can resize this. And then we've got a grid of 8 channels and 8 rows of a grid sequencer. It's also a waveform view that can be up here. So if I go to my browser, drop in something here, and I can hit play. So when I move this volume control in Playtime Mixer, my control surface goes along with it. Or it seemed to, but now it's not. It is. Oh, wrong fader. Wrong fader. Anyways, so stop. So hitting this play button triggers everything horizontally in the same row. So ideally you set up different instrument loops or one-shot samples or something like that. They can be audio or MIDI. I guess technically even video will work with this. And generally what happens in a row overwrite or stops the previous clip. So if you go to the next row, it will stop the other loop. But there are buttons at the top, like exclusive mode. If that's off, then you can have multiple things from the same column playing at the same time. There's a stop button for each column, and all these things can be assigned to the Launchpad automatically. So just plugging it in, I'll do that. You may not be able to see the best view of it. Let's go to OBS, go to here. I'll put it on top of the Xtouch. All right, so I'm plugging it in. And the session button lights up. And if I press this button here, the sound starts to play. And I tap it again and it turns off. And everything is tempo matched. So start and stop generally follows like a smooth start and stop at the bar lines. And once you get a song kind of arranged, you can capture it. You can kind of capture a song arrangement with the Matrix sequencer. So you would hit record, kind of do a performance of clicking or tapping on the pads, build up a song, an arrangement, and then you can dump the arrangement into Reaper as separate clips. And that works really well. It's a really cool way of doing it. It's very much like Ableton Live's Session View. This is Reaper's version of Session View, made by Helgaboss. And in terms of like getting all those matrix buttons mapped to a controller just automatically, I don't think it could have been any easier. You literally plug in the controller while Playtime's running and it will do it, which is just amazing. Or if you have your controller already plugged in, when you launch Playtime, it should be recognized automatically. And if you have a different controller that doesn't automatically map, there's this MIDI piano key button here, which allows you to basically MIDI learn right there. Click this button, and then you move a parameter. Let's say button 4, column 4. Oh, this keyboard's just not working. There we go. That's why it didn't work before. It needed to be restarted. So probably the stuff I was doing in CSI was working. It just, the controller just needed to restart. All right, so I assigned that button to that. So if I play this, actually, let's assign that to assign this play button to this one, and then close MIDI learn view. Press this button to start playback. And then press this button to stop playback. Yeah. So the MIDI learn function is super intuitive, and it's actually relearn on the back end, essentially. So like here, and then we click relearn, and then this is the custom layout that I just made. But there's also like a factory preset sort of thing for the grid thing, Launchpad. That's what it's called. Yeah. So I think Playtime 2 is excellent. It's a great extension for Reaper or plugin for Reaper. It's complicated. It's definitely not like instant music creation. But I think that's fine. You have to bring your own loops, essentially. You have to bring your own talent. And that's the hard part. That's the part I'm struggling with. So yeah, that's what I've been doing with recently. So spending a lot of time thinking about CSI and learning all the changes to Reaper or to CSI. Testing Reaper 7.29 betas, and then also Playtime. And there was, I was trying to track down a Launchpad for a good price to actually like take advantage of Playtime fully. So yeah, that's what's been on my mind in addition to like, holiday stuff. Just trying to survive. Hopefully you're doing well, and I don't know if I'll stream again tomorrow. Usually takes me a few hours in the morning to actually feel normal, but I'm ending the stream feeling better than when I started, so that's a good thing. All right. This is the end officially. So enjoy the rest of your day, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe not. But yeah, see you around. Oh, we forgot to do like a real Q&A section. Maybe tomorrow then. All right. See you later, guys.